Cousteau Ocean Adventures is provided by...
Could we someday run out of fresh water? Today, communities everywhere are using FilmTech membrane technology from Dow to purify formerly unusable sources of water for agriculture, industry, and everyday drinking. The world can have quality water for life. All we need is the right chemistry. Dow, living improved daily.
With additional funding from the William K. Bowes Jr. Foundation, Ann S. Bowers and the Robert Noyce Trust, the William and Gretchen Kimball Fund, by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and by contributions to your PBS station from viewers like you. Thank you.
The ocean dominates the surface of the Earth, covering over 3 times more of our world than land. This is the birthplace of life, fantastic masses of life. Here we've met unimagined species, and there are millions more yet to discover. It's a carnival of life, locked in an intricate balance that has evolved over billions of years. A balance that requires both prey and predator. And the king of predators is the shark. Sharks are perfect killers, powerful, efficient, and have evoked the awe and fear of humans for thousands of years. But now, brutal modern fishing practices and new markets have decimated entire populations of sharks, a loss that has not drawn much sympathy from the public. But is killing 100 million sharks a year getting rid of a menace? Or is the balance of our oceans at stake? To explore these questions, Jean-Michel Cousteau and his team will embark on 2 intense expeditions. They will meet the greatest of sharks face to face in open water. But first, they will encounter sharks in the greatest of numbers. 1,500 miles south of the Hawaiian Islands lies French Polynesia, thousands of tiny specks of land. Among them, located in the Tuamotu archipelago, lies an ancient sunken volcano, famous for large numbers of sharks. This is Rangiroa. It's the second largest coral atoll in the world, a paradise for sea life and divers alike. 2 main passes directly connect the lagoon to the ocean. Powerful currents surge in from the ocean to the lagoon at high tide, then reverse at low tide. These currents bring nutrient-rich waters from the deep, providing a banquet and a playground for sea life. A perfect hunting ground for sharks and a perfect location for Jean-Michel to study them. The Cousteau team makes their base camp in one of the 2 small villages on the atoll. Their host is Yves Lefebvre, the first to open a dive shop in the Tuamotu archipelago of French Polynesia and an expert on Rangiroa.
Can you show us on the chart the past you're talking about and where we'll be in relationship to the past?
Yes,
right.
Yes. Okay, in Rangiroa you have two main paths, Tiputa and Avatoru. The largest concentration of grey reef sharks stay at the entrance of Tiputa Pass. To do this dive, it's necessary to get the current coming from the ocean side to the lagoon.
This morning, with the tide coming in, how many sharks do you anticipate we'll see?
We have a good chance to see hundreds of sharks.
Wow.
Good chance.
Even for this experienced team, it's the first time they'll swim with sharks in such great numbers, and the first time they'll be in search of sharks as deep as 200 feet. For Holly, this will be her deepest dive to date.
Yeah?
Yeah.
The current will be 2 or 3 knots, maybe 4 knots of current. We have to stay in the same group. If we don't stay very close, we can disperse.
So we'll be down a couple hundred feet. The maximum bottom time we'll spend is 5 minutes, and we'll start working our way back in through the pass, do all of our decompression inside. Okay?
Each member of the team plays a vital role. Those in front of the camera, behind the camera, and those who will keep watch to ensure there are no unwanted encounters.
dolphin. Whoa!
Of the nearly 400 species of sharks, few are known to attack people. But silvertips, like the first shark to approach the divers, are among the more aggressive. So the team takes precautions as they adjust to being in such close proximity. A little deeper, a school of female gray reef sharks patrols the reef. For people without experience in underwater exploration, it may seem that sharks are common throughout the ocean. In reality, it's possible to dive hundreds of times and never see a single shark. The balance between the shark and its prey is ancient and complicated. Each actually depends on the other. The shark catches the weak and the sick, which improves the genetic fitness of the entire fish population. In turn, the shark is assured constant, abundant prey. Each species in a coral reef plays its unique role, so it's critical that no one species become too depleted or overpopulated. Sharks are among the primary enforcers of the balance. Jean-Michel motions the team deeper, and they begin their descent to 200 feet. On the way down, they encounter a school of spotted eagle rays. They're actually close relatives to sharks, but with a flattened body form and fins that have evolved like wings. As the team reaches the bottom, they find what they have come to see: lots of sharks. Dense populations of sharks such as this can take generations as sharks reproduce slowly. Some female sharks don't mature for 25 years, have only a handful of young. And a shark's pregnancy can last 24 months, longer than any other animal. They gather here every year for mating, an event the team hopes to witness. But their bottom time at 200 feet is short, and they drift with the currents back to the surface.
Jimmy! Tom's the most aggressive one, I think.
Yeah.
I was curious, was the one that had the kind of battle wounds in its dorsal fin.
Dorsal fin, that's what I was going to say.
That one was swimming so quickly towards us and right in between us.
The true shark, huh? Well, it's the most sharks I've ever seen. It's great everybody was around, you know, it made me feel a lot safer.
Yeah, that was definitely nice having everybody there.
It was great. I mean, we stuck together. I think it really worked well.
It was beautiful.
And the that big, clean, beautiful one came right between us and the camera. And
Yep.
Yeah, that shark really stood out. You know, the one that was really clean.
Yeah. Eve, is those pretty much the same ones you see? Is that their territory in there, the one with the hook?
Yes, these sharks find a long line.
Oh, yeah.
Long line too close the reef, too close the atoll.
The impact of longline fishing on Rangiroa has been severe, both in the ocean and on land. Surrounded by the largest ocean on Earth, this atoll, which rises only 10 feet above sea level, is home to 3,000 residents. Everything here depends on the sea, from the school bus, which is a boat, to the economy. Rangiroa and the Tuamotu Islands supply over half the fish marketed in all of French Polynesia, so their future is determined by fishing. For Guy Boisson, president of the local Fishermen's Association, the key is conservation and protecting the balance.
Parce qu'au début, il n'y avait pas de taille, vraiment c'est tout. Bon, maintenant, nous, on a limité à...
Right quick, so can I have it like that?
La saison, quand c'est ouvert. Quand c'est ouvert. Et sinon,
Donc c'est comme le poisson.
Le poisson, on exporte toute l'année. Toute l'année, voilà. Mais les langoustes, on ne peut pas. On risque de se faire tirer les oreilles. Et c'est un risque de prison. Hein. Alors nous, on marche avec la loi quand même. Hein. Il est en voie de disparition, le poisson sur les patates. Hein. Bon, là, je pense lui aussi, il a pris une baffe. Hein. Il y a quelques années, je venais avec 20, 25, 30 pièces par jour. Maintenant, je fais à peine 10 mémés par jour. Hein. Et le temps, on n'en parle plus. On n'en voit plus. On n'en voit plus du tout. Ça provient des longliners. Hein. Les bateaux poussent comme des, je ne veux pas dire des champignons, mais des algues dans la mer, c'est sûr. Mais je pense que le territoire doit faire une réglementation à ce point-là. C'est-à-dire donner des tonneaux à chaque bateau et puis une certaine taille. On n'arrive plus à fournir, nous, localement, en thon. Bon, le mémé...
Vous importez du thon
voilà.
à Rangiroa?
Voilà. J'ai un ami ici qui importe du thon.
C'est incroyable.
On est obligé. Artisanalement, le thon, il n'y a plus de thon en bas, alors je ne vois pas pourquoi le thon va monter en haut pour se nourrir. Il n'y a plus. Là, hier, je ne te dis pas, j'ai vu des millions de calmars. C'est la première fois que je vois ça, des millions de calmars qui sortaient de partout. Il n'y a plus de poissons pour manger ces calmars-là. Alors ces calmars-là se reproduisent. D'ici 10 ans, on aura des calmars comme ça. On va pêcher le calmar si ça continue. Mais il paraît que c'est vraiment vachement cher.
For the people of Rangiroa, it's the end of an era. While many of the ancient Polynesian ways and traditions live on, they cannot replace what the outside world has taken from these waters. The absence of large fish, such as jacks and tuna, due to overfishing, has already upset the balance in the sea, and the effects are becoming increasingly noticed on land. As the local people are forced to turn to other sea life, such as squid, to have any kind of economic future, could sharks also become a target? As the sun sets, the Cousteau team returns to the ocean to explore the reefs at night. Coral reefs are underwater cities, and not without a busy nightlife. Those active during the day must sleep while others emerge. Crowds of surgeonfish gather to mate, releasing their eggs and sperm to fertilize in the currents, but only at the time of the full moon. It's an explosion of life, hidden beneath the waves but linked to the movement of the stars. Fish adorned with stripes are meant not to stick out, but to confuse a possible predator. Like the bird, parrotfish have a colorful appearance and teeth that have fused together into a beak. Moray eels seem ready for attack with their menacing open mouths, but they're simply breathing. In order for many sharks to breathe, water must continually flow across their gills, so they must constantly be in motion or resting in a current. The nurse shark, however, is one of the exceptions. It can actively pump water across its gills, allowing it to breathe even while resting in still water. life comes alive at night as plankton swirl. They are the minuscule plants and animals that form an important part of the reef's food chain. Jean-Michel and the team visit a small-scale family fishery that is basically unchanged over the last 300 years. The system is brilliantly simple. Fish enter in one direction with the tidal flow, but then can't escape the same way. Traditionally, these traps were made of coral and straw and had to be repaired constantly.
Ça va? On peut venir vous voir?
Ouais. Tu vas rentrer dedans?
On peut?
Small-scale fishing like this makes up 80% of the total commercial catch. Once regulated only by local custom, these fish traps have now multiplied to satisfy the growing demand in Tahiti. Inside the trap, Jean-Michel finds a representation of the abundant fish species found in the waters of Rangiroa's rich coral reefs. Once trapped, the fish are kept fresh and alive in the sea until the fisherman herds them into his basket like a shepherd. In the past, the catch used to feed only local people. Times have changed drastically. All of these small, mostly family-owned fisheries are collectively known as the South Pacific Coastal Fishery and represent a $262 million industry. And the demand on them for fish throughout Polynesia is only growing greater.
All these fish are catching a 1 o'clock flight that's on its way to Papeete, and it will be there in restaurants tonight. So there is a market. In the old days, it was one shipping on ice on a cargo vessel every 2 weeks. Then it was one airplane every week, once a week. Now it's one airplane every day.
Sharks, small enough to fit through the trap's entrance, are often caught as well. But for hundreds of years, sharks in particular have always been thrown back.
Ouais, il y a des poissons.
Holly and Blair work quickly. Once out of its element, the shark is brutalized by the hot sun and increased gravity above the surface. It swims away unharmed and resumes its place on the reef.
Do they catch accidentally other sharks too, or nurse sharks the most common species?
No, other sharks.
Other
a lot
sharks.
of black tips.
Because the black tips are usually born within the lagoon,
Right.
so
And they get caught, you know, at incoming or outgoing tides in the trap, and they let them go too.
Tu t'en vas là?
In Rangiroa, a shark is worth more alive than dead to a growing number of tourists.
I work in French Polynesia, and I've come here to Rangiroa because it's one of the best spots of diving, and we can see shark.
Hammerhead?
Yes. Here in Rangiroa we have thousands and thousands sharks, and we can dive with them, close to them, and it's wonderful.
Are you afraid of sharks?
No, you shouldn't be afraid of sharks. Even little fishes can beat you more than sharks. I've never seen shark attacks in Polynesia.
Sharks are not senseless killers, and they have no preference for human flesh. In fact, shark attacks are in reality shark mistakes. Guided by a sense of smell that can detect blood as little as 1 part per million from a mile away, they actually taste before they devour, to be sure of their prey. Unfortunately, a trial nibble from a shark can be deadly. Once certain of its prey, A shark shows no hesitation as it feasts. Any crumbs left behind are never wasted. The days on expedition are exhausting. Even downtime is spent repairing gear and preparing for the next dive.
Nice, that's gonna be much more comfortable. My chin's a little sore.
Yeah.
The harsh effect of salt water on cameras means a routine of cleaning and reloading following every dive. Tedious, yes, but a pro like Tom Ordway knows that missing a once-in-a-lifetime shot due to a malfunction is unacceptable.
Let's keep your depth alarm at 250.
We, Imperial or metric?
We're in PS Imperial.
Okay.
Don Santee and Blair Mott are literally responsible for every breath the divers take underwater.
Always stop before the 1 because now select.
They constantly update the team's gear with new technologies for improved safety features and maximum performance.
This will give us our decompression profile, tell us what our stops are going to be, and then how long we need to stay at those stops before we come back to the surface.
Any break in the stress is welcome. So an opportunity for humor among the team rarely goes wasted.
God, you're so fat. What happened to you? It's all that lamb that you had at lunch. No?
It's good, though.
Okay, is this the eagle pose?
Okay, you in?
Or the tree pose? Or meditation before we dive? Ooh, I gotta balance though, and pick a spot and balance.
This dive has been timed to witness sharks not only in their greatest numbers, but also when they're the most aggressive.
We are at low tide.
Outgoing tide.
Yeah.
Outgoing tide still.
They find crowds of gray reef sharks, a competitive and territorial shark, and one of the most abundant here in Rangiroa. This is their mating season, when they school together by the hundreds to fulfill an irrepressible instinct. They seem unaware, or at least totally uninterested in the divers. However, it's no gentle affair. The males identify and follow the females by their odor, and it puts the males on edge. There's no mutual desire here. The males bite the females to subdue and overpower them in order to mate. To endure it, the females have evolved thicker skin. Jean-Michel spots something gone wrong. An aggressive male has crossed the line from mating into full-on attack. The female's wounds flood the water with scent, confusing the male's desire to mate with a frenzy to feed. He seems frantic for a response and relentlessly, with increasing force, exerts his power. She cannot survive the attack. An entirely different species will benefit. The great hammerhead, the largest reaching 20 feet, and one of the few sharks that eat other sharks. For this gray reef shark, her fate will not be as a mother, but as a meal, in the perpetual exchange of one life for another. The shark way of life may be brutal in our eyes, but sharks are a success story in terms of evolution and survival. Their main threat comes not from within the ocean, but from what is beyond the surface. For now, Rangiroa may be a haven for sharks, but Jean-Michel is concerned about their fate if fishing practices should change. He expresses his worries that, unmanaged, even here the shark will be hunted and sold.
Ici, dans les Tuamotu, les gens n'ont jamais pêché les requins, alors que vous pêchez tout. Mais vous ne pêchez pas les requins. Pourquoi?
La réponse est simple. La réponse est simple. Qui va prendre ces requins-là? Comme le poisson, les langoustes, il y a quelqu'un qui achète. Mais ces requins-là, qui se va prendre? On pêche pour quoi faire?
D'accord.
Ça les ennuie parce que ça mange leurs poissons. Et donc c'est une nuisance. Et par contre, s'il y avait un marché, ce serait une ressource. Je suis convaincu que si tu éliminais tous les requins de Rangiroa, tu aurais des tas de conséquences sur la pêche. Les requins jouent un rôle très important.
Je ne pense pas que nous, on va pêcher le requin. Jamais. Peut-être jamais. Jamais. Mais les thoniers, c'est surtout ces thoniers-là. Parce que moi, dès quand ils viennent ici, là, c'est des paquets d'ailerons qu'il y a derrière. Quand tu vas regarder dans la cale, il y a aucun, il y a 5 ou 6 corps. Je peux te dire, ils doivent...
Ils gardent les mécos.
Voilà.
Over 100 million sharks are caught each year, half of them by accident in nets or on long-line hooks. But also, a growing Asian middle class is now willing to pay over $200 per pound for shark fins in order to serve shark fin soup as a sign of prosperity. As a result, sharks themselves have become a profitable target. They're stripped of their fins while the rest of the body is thrown back as waste. It's a slaughter of unprecedented numbers, the ultimate effects of which are unknown. How devastating will the ripple effect be in a decade, after 1 billion sharks have been taken out of the balance? In 20 years? In 50? It's an issue that concerns marine biologists like Holly around the world. The removal of predators at the top of the food chain trickles all the way down to the smallest of creatures in the ocean and to the very foundation of the world's coral reefs, the anchors of life in the ocean.
So I'd go down to 120 feet, waiting for sharks.
All right.
If we have sharks, we stay for filming them with Jean-Michel and the team. If no sharks, we continue inside to the current and we drift to the lagoon.
It's the final dive. One more chance for a great encounter, one more opportunity to learn.
Okay, let's go.
All right.
Let's go.
The team plans each dive carefully, but exploring the wilderness beneath the surface brings with it the unpredictable, unexpected, even the unknown. And the thrill of knowing that every dive will be unique. This time it isn't sharks, but dolphins that first approach. Nothing in the sea is more opposite sharks than dolphins. They're warm-blooded, air-breathing mammals like us, and mating is a matter of mutual pleasure all year long. We share more traits with dolphins than almost any other animal. Intelligence, living in tight societies, using language, taking care of each other, and having lots of fun. Dolphins play constantly and aren't shy about allowing people into the mix. Even with dolphins, sharks play a role. Sharks are their only natural predator, and dolphins band together for protection. Outnumbered, the shark will usually keep moving. Ahead, another of the ocean's key predators, barracuda. It's an awesome sight to see them in such massive numbers. It's a powerful example of a species that is not overfished, and so they've flourished in their place among sea life. A pair of flounder mates in an elegant dance. With the grandeur of an ancient tall ship, a sailfish cruises by, capable of bursts of up to nearly 70 miles an hour. Only a handful of sharks emerge. Not the great numbers the team had hoped to see. The question arises, if the slaughter of 100 million sharks a year worldwide continues or increases, could this be a preview of shark populations of the future? Coral reefs are the world's underwater rainforests, thriving laboratories of the most ancient experiments in how to live. A vast network weaving species and populations together, each depending on the other's continuity. And these paradises, as we know them, cannot sustain their vital balance without the shark. It's time to go. Eve directs the team toward the pass and into the strong currents.
What a great dive.
The current just takes you. All of a sudden, you're whoosh.
Right through the channel.
Yep. You don't realize how fast until we got along the slope.
The wall and you just...
The coral's cruising by. It's not the coral moving, that's us moving.
Yep.
I'd say that was a good 4-knot current in there.
Yeah, it was pretty fast.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, what a beautiful spot.
À la maison. On rentre à la maison. You have a lot to gain, you as a person, by better understanding these animals. I'm not saying you don't have to be careful. I'm saying more I observe them, more I have a profound respect for nature, for the environment, and we have a very important responsibility when it comes to allowing nature to continue its course, and that will affect the quality of our lives. In the end, nature will survive, but perhaps we won't. That's what we need to, at all costs, make sure doesn't happen.
Elsewhere in the world's oceans, a different kind of shark encounter, where the impressive factor is not the number of sharks, but the size and power of the most famous and feared of them all, the great white. They patrol coastlines around the world. But great whites are concentrated in the waters of the northeastern United States. Northern California, where there are more great white shark attacks than anywhere else. The Australian coast, from southern Queensland to the Northwest Cape, and off South Africa. It's here that Jean-Michel will meet the shark of our nightmares. A treacherous maze of jagged rocks and tiny islands, the Cape of Good Hope has claimed some 2,700 shipwrecks in its cold, turbulent waters. For one of the largest populations of great white sharks in the world, this is home. Thousands of Cape fur seals draw them to a narrow channel between Dyer Island and Geyser Rock, known as Shark Alley. For his face-to-face meeting with a shark that can be 20 feet long and 4,000 pounds, Jean-Michel's guide will be Andre Hartmann, a commercial fisherman turned shark tour guide and a great white defender. His 3 decades of experience with great whites have come one shark at a time.
Well, the first year I saw a great white was 1977, and in the following 6 years I saw 23 with me in the water while spearfishing, and I lost count after that. When we started opening the shark's mouth, it was actually accidental. We started pushing the sharks off the engine, and the motor is like a limb, you know, it's hanging underwater, and they often turn on their sides and bite it. They feel it's hard and they don't like it. And then they break teeth and they disappear and we don't see them again. One day, one little shark came around the corner and I thought, I wonder what it'll do if I stick my hand under his nose and lift his nose up and see what happens. And when I did that, he came open in a wide gape, showed all his teeth, and that's how it started.
What Andre Hartmann is doing is really helping us understand these animals more than we have in the past. Experimenting, finding new things, learning about them a little bit at a time, and more from a behavioral point of view, contributing a lot to our understanding of the great white sharks.
Breaching is something that sharks do naturally. When they catch a seal, they recognize it as prey and they hit it at a high speed from below. After 1 year of working with sharks on the surface, you sort of get an urge to get in the water and learn more about them because you're limited to what you learn when you're watching from the surface. So we started getting in the water with them and see how they accept us there.
2 miles from shore, Jean-Michel and his carefully selected team prepare. They'll rely on Andre's experience, but this dive remains unpredictable. Each of the highly specialized divers is assigned a critical role for the dive, planned with perfect precision. There will be no margin for error. The law requires a shark cage, but their real protection is each other.
When we see the shark is very calm, we go in the water, right? Once you're in the water, if the shark comes at you, don't run away. Keep your distance. If it comes at you, you have a little stick, you just tap it or you just push it. It will move away because it feels something hard.
So what are your signals underwater?
If somebody sees a shark and we are on the surface or even underwater, you go toot, 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 toot. And people that's on the boat, they see a shark, they will tap on the ladder. And if another one arrives, we'll do it again. Okay?
Okay.
Right.
For the first dive, they head for the bottom where the rocks provide some safety, but also in hopes of luring a great white close to them. To protect their vulnerable belly, sharks maneuver to keep any possible threat from being beneath them. When the great white spots them, it swims down to investigate, all 15 feet of it. The security divers make sure everyone is aware and continue watching for any others that may arrive. The shark comes in for its first test, getting a taste. It rejects the hard object. The key is never to lose track of the shark's position and to confront it head-on. Clearly in charge, the curious great white takes its time. Great whites attack 7 or 8 people every year, and most survive. The attacks occur when sharks mistake a human for its preferred prey. A gentle tap on the snout is enough to discourage this 1.5-ton animal to move on. We're learning that this perfect apex predator is of a far more complex nature than first observed or imagined in our fear. The entire sea is their domain, yet the great white travels alone, surprisingly vulnerable and in streamlined perfection. Should the shark decide to lash out, there is nothing the team can do to stop it. But Andre's continued efforts to learn more about great whites pay off. The shark remains calm, unthreatened, allowing Andre to make contact. The dive has exceeded expectations. Of the thousands of hours Jean-Michel has logged in the oceans, this has been a first. There's plenty to be excited about.
There's two things that really got to me, and I was like being lying on an airstrip,
yeah,
and having a 747 or a beautiful airplane taking off right above your head.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then I was amazed to see how gentle and timid and elegant, and at the same time I thought, of course, very, very powerful. But this is not, the thing that everybody should do. At the same time, this is a proof that they are not those nasty guys. Otherwise, you and I, and all the security people who are here, there are a lot of people watching for us, we wouldn't be here. They are the giant of the oceans, and very lonely, too. I used to call them the lonely lord of the sea.
They head back through Shark Alley. Cape fur seals come here in the tens of thousands every winter to mate and pop, and to get fat on the abundance of these waters. A paradise for seals, and an enticing feeding ground for the great white sharks. The sharks fuel their high-energy needs by feasting on the pups that are up to 50% fat. While it may not evoke our sympathy, a shark of this size has to work hard to get a meal. Though its powerful and efficient body can reach speeds of 25 miles per hour, it is easily outmaneuvered. Here, too, the shark plays its primordial role in the large balance of predator and prey, invigorating the population, able to catch the weak or sick. But even then, not always successful. Onshore, an unfortunate discovery. A fur seal entangled in a torn net. Without hesitation, the crew sets into motion. Andre accepts the risk and heads for the shore in hopes of freeing it. His efforts may be insignificant to this thriving population of thousands, but it means everything to this one animal. Here in South Africa, and in all countries where there are great white sharks, the United Nations now regulates and monitors all trade in great white shark parts and products. There is still much work to do, but there is hope. Daybreak brings its new challenge for Jean-Michel. The final dive that will test his beliefs about great whites even more. For these African penguins, it's a daily test. Found only off the South African coast, these flightless birds are easy prey to sharks patrolling for a better meal. But unfortunately, it's not the great white that most threatens them. Over the last half-century, the penguins' numbers have plummeted 90%, all due to human intervention. From guano mining, which has reduced their habitat and forced them to compete for breeding space with the fur seals, to oil pollution from tankers and commercial fishing, which has reduced their food supply. Awkward on land, they are graceful in the water, swimming up to 5 miles an hour. Nevertheless, the sharks just pluck them from the surface. But nature has provided this underdog with a few tricks to even the score. So simple, yet so effective. And for Jean-Michel, as he heads to sea once again to enter these treacherous waters, an inspiration. If this small penguin can find a balance with such a large beast, perhaps people can too. But even here, an encounter is not assured and must be coaxed. For this dive, Jean-Michel and Andre will snorkel on the surface, giving the great white all the advantage. There will be no protection other than a stick in their hands. In a display of raw strength, the shark lunges and snags the bait, tearing it to shreds. A reminder of this animal's awe-inspiring predatory power. As always, there are others ready for any meal left behind. The conditions are right. The dive is a go. It's a dance of patience. Both the divers and the shark careful not to provoke the other. Not sure of each other's intentions, but not wanting to scare the other away. Slowly, yet surely, one step leads to another, deeper into the unknown and the unexpected.
That was something, huh?
That was nice.
I did exactly what you told me, and that was just to get the tip of the dorsal fin, and you know, I just pinched it with 2 fingers.
Yeah.
And it was going slowly and didn't move at all when I did it. And I was taken on a ride. It was just absolutely awesome.
Deliberately seeking out a great white shark on its own terms was an experience I will never forget and probably will never repeat. Yet being in the presence of this ancient master reminds me how human abuse of the sea is throwing the entire system out of balance. Sharks are at risk, but it comes back to us as well. For instance, shark fins inspected from Bangkok contain 42 times more mercury than is safe for human consumption. That means the greatest danger to people from sharks may not be in the water, but on the table. In the long run, my free dive with a great white shark was probably safer than eating shark fin soup. Yet, despite the health risk, the massacre of sharks for their fins continues. Everywhere in Polynesia, posters now advertise high prices for shark fins, the same sharks that bring the tourists and protect the balance on the reef. Now, more than ever, the two myths that have skewed our beliefs about sharks must be laid to rest. Sharks are not mindless predators, nor sinister man-eaters. And two, the oceans are not full of sharks. It's already feared that the hammerhead and the great white have declined by more than 75% in the past 20 years. That means 3 out of 4 are gone. And for species that reproduce slowly, these losses may be unsurmountable unless we are willing to change. The future is in our hands, and our future depends on the ocean, on the continued balance between predator and prey, and on abundant populations of this evolutionary marvel, a magnificent and necessary force in the sea, the shark.
Stay tuned for more from Jean-Michel Cousteau Ocean Adventures. But first...
10,000.
15? 15, you think?
20, 21,000?
600.
20.